Hello, my name is Aaron Cloutier, and on behalf of AirGigs.com, I am going to walk you through the process of how to write a killer riff in just 6 simple steps. So let's get started. This is not the only way to write a riff, but this is just a way, and it's going to feature some what I consider to be unconventional methods. So I think you might find this really helpful if you are on the go all the time and you might not even have access to your guitar or whatever instrument you write riffs on. So this is very portable and very practical. So let's start with step one. All right, so step one is find the heartbeat. So what I mean by that is decide on the rhythm and the tempo that you want to write to. So as you can see here, I've got good old 4/4 and 105 BPM that I'm working with. Again, if you already have a riff idea that you really like, go back and analyze it and see what rhythm you think it fits and what tempo it fits, right? Logic is great because you can just drag in your recorded idea and analyze the tempo. That's super, super helpful. But if you don't have that, just bust out your metronome and write all this stuff down because it's super handy information to have. All right, so step two is find a groove. Now, normally I default to Easy Drummer just because I've been using it for years and I love it and all that. But today I'm actually going to be pulling from some stock loops, courtesy of Luke O'Kelly. He's a fellow AirGigs alumni, so be sure to check him out and what he does. And if you like the sound of these grooves, I'll include a link to download them for free in the link in the description below. But at any rate, let's pull in one of those grooves. Okay, so here is the groove. Let's have a listen real quick, just a couple of times. Yeah, I like that. It's actually given me a couple of ideas already. And the reason why I'm using this loop right now is because I don't have a lot of time and I don't want to waste any minutes I have programming something completely from scratch, even though I love doing that normally. I want to save all of my brain power just for the riff itself. So this can be great if you're, on the go and you don't even have access to your regular software or anything like that. You could just pull in a groove and just program a riff to it, which I might get into in a little bit. But in the meantime, let us proceed to step three. Okay, so step three is choose a key or a tonal center. So what I mean by tonal center, you just think of it as a root note of your riff where everything is going to kind of revolve around. If you're not very familiar with music theory, you can think of like just that, just like what's the root note. If you are a little bit more versed in music theory scales and all that sort of stuff, go crazy. After listening back to this idea, it gave me this feeling of like a note in G and maybe even, something pentatonic based. So that's what I'm going to do right now. In fact, I'm going to just quickly play to this and come up with something real quick behind the scenes. So you'll see what I do after. So stay tuned. Okay, so step four is follow the groove. So what I mean by that is I want to create a bass line that follows the kick and snare pattern for the most part. I think I just stuck with the kicks. Let's listen back real quick, actually. So here's my rough bass idea. Yeah, it's just following the kick drum. So very simple. And the way that I came up with this is I programmed just a steady 16th note pattern here. As you can see, I created a separate track. I like to have a track that I write in, and then I create a separate track to dump into. So it's like, here's the raw materials, here's the track for the finished draft, but here's what I started with. Just a steady stream of 16th notes that I can borrow from, copy, paste, take away from. It's a good kind of writing template to have because you can always take away. All right, so step 5 is create contrast. Now, there's a number of different ways to create contrast. I actually started with just laying out that 16th note pattern against the groove and listen back just to see like what I could take away. And as a result, I came up with this bass line. But I want to go a step further and create some contrast to create the actual guitar riff now. So what I'm going to do is listen back. I'm going to grab the guitar real quick. The audio might not be so good, so I'm just going to do this behind the scenes real quick. Again, however much time it takes you to do this, take as much time as you need. Don't feel like you need to rush through any of this sort of stuff. Just set these little parameters up and then take action. So I will be right back. All right, we're back. So as you can see, I have my fake guitar here with the riff. Let's listen to the riff on its own real quick. Right, very pentatonic based. Let's bring everything together so you can hear it. Right. So this already brings me to the 6th and final step, which I've kind of been doing throughout this entire process, which is listen, right? You need to be able to just passively listen to what you've got going on there and just kind of, making notes about, hey, this needs to change. I'm ready for this part to move on, or this sounds very cool. This sounds very resolved, or maybe a harmony would really sound good here, that kind of thing. Just take as much time to passively listen to what you've done, and then feel free to walk away, take a break, get back to it, listen again, rinse, repeat. So as a result of this listening process, I've come up with a more realized version of this riff. So let's go check that out right now. All right, so here we are. Here is my slightly more realized rough idea. Let's just have a listen real quick. Yeah, I like that. So as you can see, I've labeled some of these regions as call and response. And that ties in directly to the whole listening aspect of things, right? Sitting with your idea, right, in its original form and just like asking yourself, what does this need? Does it feel resolved? Is it landing on a tense note that needs to be resolved? Does it need some kind of variety or excitement? If I was repeating this riff just the entire time, it might get boring if I listened to it like that, 4 times, 8 times, who knows? So I immediately felt like we needed to have a response riff to the call. And it's just a subtle change. We listen to here. Right? Just one note, but one note can make a huge difference in just, creating a sense of variety, a sense of movement. Like, oh, okay, it's not exactly the same thing. And with me, I'm all about exploring variety with melodies and riffs. So I did it again over here. So we went even crazy with just like changing up the rhythm here, obviously, adding different notes here. And again, because I'm a singer, I think that, helps me out as far as writing riffs, because sometimes I will just, jump back and forth in my mind to like, what would a guitar player do? What would a singer do? And kind of using both of those to suit the song as best as I can. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's listen to everything one more time. I dig Luke's groove. It's so funky. Yeah, so that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. If you would like to go more in depth, you can check out the accompanying article that I wrote for AirGigs if you haven't already. And a special thanks to Luke for the use of his grooves. You can check those out at the link in the description below. And if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me, comment, DM, wherever you're finding this. Thanks.